All right, everybody, this is Pat Miletich with another episode of Everything Combat because, yes, life is a fight. This is a show that was designed to be positive, to tell stories about people who have overcome adversity in life to go on to become great at whatever they wanted to become great at. And, we've had a lot of great people on the show. My guest today, Jeffrey Wilson, cannot join me. My co-host today, he is busy with kids, with family, so we understand that family comes first. But we're going to talk about something that Jeffrey and I thought up called the Hard to Kill Holiday Challenge. And this is basically the thought is spawned by realizing all the friends that I have and all the people that have reached out to me over the years, the veterans with PTSD, the citizens, the regular civilians who have lost family members or suffer from depression. And you know what? The holidays are coming up, man, and we know it's notorious for depression. We know it's notorious for people gaining weight, for going the wrong direction, and even, unfortunately, yes, suicide. So, this is what this is designed for, is to be uplifting. So we've had this gentleman on before, Tim James from ChemicalFreeBody.com. He transformed his life. He was suffering physically and mentally from a lot of different things. And one of his good friends had terminal cancer, and they went to the Hippocrates Health Institute in Florida and healed themselves. And they're around to tell the story and improve other people's lives. And that's why he is on today. And Tim, thank you for joining me.
Hey, Pat, thanks for having me on again.
And I tell you what, we've learned so much from you about how the body works, what we put in our bodies, it can either destroy us or build us up and make us better. And your supplements are as good as it gets. The living grains that you put in your body, and you basically live a plant-based life. You have a plant-based diet, and that's something that totally transformed your life. And I think you should go back over that and just tell people a little bit about it.
Yeah, thanks, Pat. For those of you that are new tuning in, just a quick recap. Pat's right. I grew up on a cattle and hay farm over in Eastern Oregon, and I grew up hunting and fishing, eating lots of meat. We raised Hereford cattle ourselves, and we butchered one every year. So meat was a big part of my life. And, fast forward to age 37, I found myself about 38 pounds overweight. Some skin issues on my elbows, eczema, and also on my knee, a big patch, and was really painful. I'd bump into a coffee table, and it would really, it hurt. And I wouldn't let anybody know it was hurting, but it was like somebody stabbed me with a knife. And it was disgusting looking as well, especially when you're wearing shorts and stuff in the summer. You got this big ugly patch on your knee, and it's on your elbows, and it itches, and it's just 24/7, right?
Yeah.
So I had that going on. Acid indigestion. I'm eating tons of Rolaids all day long, and it was almost unbearable sometimes. And then I also had blood actually coming out of my stools half the time, and I didn't even go to the doctor.
That's alarming.
Yeah, well, you'd think you go see the doctor, but I'm like, oh, well, maybe that'll go away tomorrow, And it just kept going on for year after year, and
right.
and I kept gaining weight, and I was fatigued, wasn't sleeping well, and I just couldn't do what I was able to do as an athlete all those years playing baseball and football, and but I didn't know what to do, right? So my friend Charles gets diagnosed with chronic lymphocytic leukemia. Like you said, we went to the Hippocrates Health Institute, and we learned about detoxing the body and proper plant-based nutrition, and we just said, hey, this looks pretty good. Let's try it. And within 7 days, my acid indigestion was gone. I dropped 11 pounds. I had energy and vitality running through my veins like I was 19 again. And Charles and I never looked back. And even before he was completely, free of cancer, whatever you want to call it, him and I ran a Portland Marathon together in 2012 with the guy that supposedly, still got cancer, right? Because he's feeling better than he ever felt. And it's, I just saw him not too long ago. Like last week, we hung out, went out to have dinner, and we had vegan pizza, plant-based pizza. And it's kind of funny, but these lifestyle changes, they really made a big difference for him and for me. I mean, it saved his ass, basically, saved his life. And I followed along to help him. I don't know if I could have made those changes on my own, because it was so ingrained into me that from my redneck heritage and how I grew up and all the men and the way they were. I got teased, as you can imagine, pretty hardcore. making those changes, especially when I was still going on elk hunting trips and deer hunting trips with my friends. And I told them, I'm not going to eat it, but I think I'm going to grind it up and mix it with some quinoa and feed it to my dogs, so my dogs can have a high quality dog food. And oh man, they just went off the rails. Like, you ain't going to give that elk meat to your dog, you crazy SOB, And I got a lot of flack from them, but I'm like, screw you. I'm like, I can do what I want. It's my tag. And so I let them have the back straps and the tenderloins and all that stuff. But I started, that's how I justified hunting. And then I kind of gave up hunting. About 2013 is when I stopped. And we can talk more about that because I just had that recent trip with my son when he went hunting. But yeah, it's been a game changer for me, literally. And I'm 46 years old now. And dude, I freaking feel awesome. I feel good. I'm running sprints. I'm running up hills and trails, and I'm strong. I'm healthy. My digestion works great. No more blood in my stools. My skin issues, like on my elbows, it's like all that stuff's like completely gone. My knee was healed up within 8 months. My skin just feels good, and it's fun because when you go to the grocery store around, or you start talking to people that don't know you. And they're like, do you have any kids? And I'm like, oh, yeah. I've got my one son's a sophomore in college, and my other son's a junior in high school. And they're like, what? Wait a minute. How old are you? I'm like, I'm 46. And they're like, no way. I mean, they just blows their mind. I mean, dude, I looked older when I was 37 than I do now at 46. Like no question.
Right.
Except for the gray hair.
That's part of it, right? That's part of it.
But the skin. So the bottom line, Pat, is that because of Charles's cancer diagnosis, I basically I changed my life for him, but I maintained the lifestyle because I learned how to love myself and not to listen to what everybody else was saying. Do my own research and actually find out, how this stuff was working. And we'll probably talk about it later, but I wrote some things down that was on that documentary that just came out on Netflix called The Game Changers.
All right, we'll talk about that too.
That guy, James Wilkes, was talking about, research your own experience, absorb what's useful, reject what's useless, and add what is specifically your own. And that's pretty much what I've done now for almost 10 years is I look for whatever works. I look what produces results. And I really don't care what anybody else says or what any doctor or anybody tells me, especially if they're not healthy themselves. I'm looking for results for myself, and I'm looking for results for my clients, and that's the bottom line. And so I think I can really help you out with this, and I really want to help you guys out. And I think that's what you called me, as with this Hard to Kill Holiday Challenge,
right?
To help these veterans with PTSD. In fact, I just told you, I just wrote an article called Brain Wars. And it's the truth about PTSD and how veterans can overcome its grip, because I've worked with a lot of veterans with this.
And that's on brainwarsdefensereview.com. Brainwarsdefensereview.
Yeah. The site's the first site it got posted on was it's called defensereview.com.
Defensereview.com.
It's probably the most widely held site for people looking for what's the top tactical guns and knives and that kind of stuff. These guys, David Crane's been doing reviews from this stuff for 19 years. And it's usually all reviews on guns and stuff, but they felt it was so important that they actually posted it on their site because they know they got a lot of veterans and stuff there. So there's also a video there as well that you guys can check out. That's, again, defensereview.com, and the article is called Brain Wars.
Yeah, sorry, I put it all together. And that's the thing is, I've talked to so many veterans who get referred to the VA for PTSD and other physical ailments, mental ailments, and they just basically just give them pharmaceutical drugs and there's Tim drinking is right there, Green's 85. But that's the scariest thing, because these guys can't get off these drugs. I've got a friend who trained underneath me. I'm not going to say his name, but he is fighting right now to get off Oxycontins and psychotropic drugs. They prescribed 2 of them together, and he said it was absolutely the devil, and he couldn't get off them for years because he had a lot of spinal injuries from fighting. And he'd been miserable, and so he messaged me, and I tell you what, the battle he's going through to get off those drugs, and so you times that by millions of people who have been put on this cocktail or different types of cocktails of pharmaceutical drugs. Look, I understand people need pharmaceutical drugs now and then for pain. I get it. There's some horrific injuries that have happened, and that makes sense. But it's the getting off them that is the torturous thing. So, it's really important for people to understand that if you put the right stuff in your body, you can heal. And that's the thing about Game Changer. You talked to me about it when we talked earlier on the phone, and I pulled it up right away. I got off the phone with you. I pulled it up on Netflix. My wife and I watched it, and she's a doctor of chiropractic, and she said numerous times during it, going, "Wow, I'm blown away by this," and so I posted on Twitter, and this is something that, when you said you don't care what anybody tells you, whatever any doctors tell you, especially when they're not healthy themselves, I posted on Twitter. I said, I'm blown away by this. I tagged Wilkes in it, James Wilkes in it, who basically did the narration for it, and voiceover for the entire program. And I said, I watched your documentary Game Changers, and I'm going to give this a try, man. This is the thing, after talking to guys like David Clark and you and several other guys who have been vegan for years and are doing amazing things. Their health is incredible. David Clark went from a 320-pound alcoholic drug addict to a guy that can run 100 miles like nothing. And now he's biking like a madman too. He just finished the Leadville 100 mountain bike race and kicked butt at that. So this finally pushed me over the edge of the Game Changers video or the documentary. So I posted on Twitter about it, and people, saying, no, don't do it. You're going to regret it. It's, people suffer from all kinds of ailments and this and that, and where are you going to get your protein from? And so I just don't even get into that with them. I'm going to do it. I'm going to commit to 90 days and go through November, December, and January. We'll go through that Hard to Kill holiday challenge. And I just want to see what happens to my body, man. I just want to see what happens and train hard, push myself, and see what happens.
Yeah. And I'll coach you through that, buddy. I'll get you some really yummy recipes that are just filling and delicious, and it's going to be a lot easier for you.
Yeah. So that's the main thing is I'm going to do a lot of Google search, and I've done a lot of Google search on the plants that are high in protein and a lot of the nutrients that are needed. But in that Game Changers, that one of the world's strongest men, I forget his name, but where somebody asked him, how can you be strong as an ox by not eating meat? And he said, have you ever seen an ox eat meat?
Yeah. Oh, actually, that guy's name is Patrick Baboumian or something like that.
The guy's a monster.
Oh my God! Yeah, he's packing like 4 guys on
a carrying over 1,000 pounds for I don't know how far. That's who even picks up 1,000 pounds besides walking with it. You know what I mean? That's a scary dude.
It's funny, and I'm like, in high school I used to, I started lifting weights and stuff. There's a buddy of mine, Dan. We used to go around high school and kind of flex just because we're trying to, show off or whatever, be cool or be stupid things as kids. But when people ask me that, it's like, where do you get your protein from? I just ask them, I'm like, well, where do you get your protein from? I mean, because they're just doing a defense mechanism because they're trying to justify their belief system. Is all it really boils down to. Because I used to do that. I was like, where are you going to, vegetarians, vegan, what the hell? I mean, I didn't even, how are you going to get meat? How are you going to build muscle, if you don't have frickin' thing? So I asked them that question. I'm like, where do you get your protein from? And they're like, beef and chicken and fish. And I'm like, oh, okay, cool. So why don't we just take beef as an example? That's a pretty good sized animal, and that you're probably trying to only, like you, Pat, maybe you want to put maybe 140, 150 pounds of lean muscle mass on your body, and the cow's gonna maybe be 600 to 1,200 pounds depending on the breed and the cow, right? So we get this big animal, 1,000-pound animal, whatever. So where does the cow get its protein from to put on way more muscle than you?
Right.
And they're like, hay or grass. And I'm like, exactly. The cow gets it from the grass. And so I'm not telling you to go eat grass, but there's other plants that you can eat that you can digest. We can't digest the grass because of the cellulose, but we can drink the juice out of grass. And I do that every day, and I do wheatgrass juice. That's and a bunch of other stuff. But so that's it. So what we've been taught by an industry is that you have to let the animal eat the plants, slaughter the animal, chop it up, freeze it, ship it, cook it at high temperatures, which from Max Planck Institute shows us that 50% of those proteins are coagulated through the cooking process, completely unusable. Consume it and think we're going to get healthy.
Right.
And you saw the movie, what it does to your blood. It just jacks you up. So
well, in your arteries, it causes inflammation in your arteries.
It's just like the earth is flat, the earth is round thing. I mean, you tell anybody now that it's flat and they think you're crazy, It's things have changed. You have awareness. But the bottom line is results. The other thing I like to do now is I just flex a little bit. I just go like that. I go, I haven't had meat in 9.5 years, That's it.
All right. Yeah.
That's it.
So, again, the main thing is people who, they just haven't been educated on this. And this has been a slow burn for me as far as becoming educated on plant-based diets. And,
yeah,
when I was fighting as a professional athlete, I ate a lot of plants. I mean, I had to eat a lot of plants to, one, it helped me lose weight. Two, I did feel better. I performed better, most definitely. And it's weird how, for me as a guy that grew up wrestling my whole life, I was cutting weight from 6th grade all the way until my last professional fight at 42 years of age. That's 30 years of cutting weight. And so I was constantly, literally starving because cutting weight back then entailed starving.
Right.
And so for me, my love of food, man, is off the charts compared to most people. So if it's in front of me, I'm going to eat it. If my wife brings home a box of donuts, I know it's going to hurt me because I'm allergic to gluten, wheat, and soy. But I want to eat it, and if it takes a lot to not eat it, so that's why it was important for me to at least have her watch this documentary with me and have it impact her, so that she does the shopping. So what's she going to bring home next week? And so it's going to be curved more towards this game changer. And so that's something I want my daughters. My daughters are both my senior in high school daughter is a rower. She just got a scholarship, academic and athletic, to go to Jacksonville University and row for them. Mm-hmm. And she's been accepted to the nursing program. But then my 15-year-old daughter is a very good swimmer. And I sat there and I watched this and I thought, I think it's worth all of us trying this for 90 days to see what happens. Let's find out what happens, and see if it benefits us, and we're going to have to learn a lot more about it, what to eat. And as you said, you've got a lot of recipes and what combinations of stuff to put together, as far as covering your bases on proteins and carbs and stuff. But, somebody like David Clark will even say, because I don't even worry about it anymore. Yeah. I just eat plants and nuts and seeds.
It's easy.
And the guy's a freak of nature. I mean, doctors he's a medical mystery to these doctors because, he was trained for the Masters national champion boxing matches. He picked up boxing, as an ultra runner, and he injured his Achilles, and they operated, put it back together, and he healed so fast that he was literally already jogging and jumping and doing stuff with it. It was like a world record. And
yeah,
he convinced it was the plant-based diet that
was part of it. Yeah, I was actually working with him on that whole recovery process.
So much less inflammation.
Plant-based diet. He was taking our products to speed up the recovery and reduce inflammation. Then he was going crazy with a ton of CBD salves right on the area, and also taking a lot orally to reduce the inflammation. You're right. He did. He healed that up in about a third of the time. And I had another lady do the same thing right before him that I was working with. That shattered her ankle. Did the same thing and healed in a third of the time. She was supposed to go in to get X-rays, and then it was going to be surgery and 12 weeks in a cast. And she went in, and the surgeon kept looking at the film, and he went and got another radiologist, and got another radiologist, and got another radiologist, and then finally came up to her and goes, I don't know what's going on, but you're healing so fast, we don't need to do surgery. And she was out of her cast in 4 weeks with no surgery.
Wow.
Right? So, if you can reduce inflammation in the body, you're going to speed up healing, period.
Well, that's the thing. Here's the thing that I was sitting there thinking, I can't be allergic to meat too, but every time I would eat, bread or pasta and stuff, or I would have a wheat beer, I'd feel bloated instantly and just, I felt horrible, right?
Yeah.
And so finally, when I cut that stuff out, then the bloating went away. But then I sat there and I went, wait a minute, I'm feeling this now with meat. Now, if I eat a burger or something by itself, even without a bun, now I've got the same issues, and there's an issue here. There's a serious problem going on with my body. And you know, when you're really young and resilient, and you've got tons of stem cells coursing through your veins and everything else, and you're healing up because of the growth hormone levels in your body, you know, you can combat that and you don't feel it near as much. But as you get older, this stuff really kicks in, the stressors and the toxins and everything else, you know.
Yeah. And there's a real good video on this too. It's Michael Greger's 2012 talk. It's on YouTube. It's called Uprooting the Leading Causes of Death.
Okay.
And he gets into that down the road, I don't know, about halfway through or somewhere in that video. I can't remember. It's been so long since I listened to it. But he said that when we consume animal products, it's not so much the acid-forming substance of the animal, but it's the bacteria in the flesh. Because when an animal dies, when we die, our muscle tissue starts decomposing. It's
Right.
bacteria that's breaking that flesh down, taking it back into the soil. And what happens is it's the fat in the meat, he said, that actually transports those bacteria through our entire cardiovascular system. It creates an internal state of inflammation called endotoxemia. And that's where, and it takes like 4 to 6 hours for our bodies to regulate that and bring it back down. You saw in the Game Changers when they had those 3 NFL football players.
Yeah, and they did the blood tests.
Yeah, and they ate the meat diet versus the blood test, and the people ate in the plant-based diet, the blood serum was clear.
Just one meal.
One meal, and the other one was all cloudy. And so not only do you have the extra cholesterol and fats in there, but you also have this bacterial load that your body has to deal with, and it creates an internal inflammation, which leads to disease.
Yeah.
And then you have that for breakfast, like bacon and eggs, hash browns or whatever, and then by lunchtime your body's healed, and then you have a turkey sandwich, and it's 4 to 6 more hours of endotoxemia and inflammation and cholesterol buildup. And over a lifetime, your arteries get plugged up, you get heart disease, coronary artery disease, and you got to go in and get bypass surgery, stents put in, and then those doctors will all tell you that those people come back, you know, and they got to do more surgeries and more stents, and then they put them on statins and medications that have 37 side effects, and it's a broken system, man.
Right. So, you know, that's the thing we keep trying to get across to people. So, like I said, you know, what type of supplementation do people want to do along with a plant-based diet? I mean, what would you recommend people take? You know, like an iron? Do you need that sort of stuff?
Well, everybody's I guess would say it would be different depending on what they're consuming. What's the quality of the foods they're consuming? One thing that on that movie Game Changers that I learned from Dr. Clement at the Hippocrates Health Institute was everybody should be consuming a B12. Not because you're vegan or plant-based, even meat eaters should be doing it, because again, B12 is an inaccurately categorized vitamin. It's not a vitamin at all. It's a bacteria that's soil-based bacteria.
Okay.
So typically, that's why, like, when people have pets, they have higher immune systems, they get sick less, because the pets are always bringing in from the soil, bringing dirt into the house and bringing in those good bacteria, and they're kissing and licking you, and they're actually helping build your immune system. So, and like they said, because of chemicals and pesticides and fungicides and herbicides and all the man-made pollution, what's happening is that those bacteria are hard to find, and they're getting killed. So that's why we teach people to take probiotics, spore-based probiotics to rebuild and recolonize that gut bacteria. And those spore-based probiotics are all soil-based, right?
Okay.
And those are important. So soil-based probiotics, I think, are very important. I also think that I'm also taking other like a B12, which is a bacteria.
And people can get those from, they can get them from health professionals, even, to inject in like belly fat, right? Tiny little.
Yeah, I don't know much about the injectable types.
There's some that dissolve under your tongue that are sublingual.
Yeah, sublingual or capsules, and you have to do a little bit of research on it, because There's cyanocobalamin and methylcobalamin, and I've had people tell me both. Like the cyanocobalamin is the natural source from the soil, and the methyls are the ones that are made in the labs. But I've had other people tell me they've taken the methyls and it's worked for them. So it just kind of depends. So what I tell people is just get outside, get in the dirt as much as possible. Don't be afraid of dirt. Get as many exposures to different soils and different places you can. Just get outside, and don't be afraid of that. A lot of raw sauerkraut, kimchi, fermented based probiotics, and that'll really help out a lot.
Yeah, I love kimchi. I'm not a big sauerkraut fan, but I love kimchi. Yeah. I love spicy stuff, so that's something that I like to eat. So,
and this soil-based stuff we're talking about, this bacteria, this is huge for veterans. This is huge because there's a gut-brain connection here, and that's part of that article I wrote, Brain Wars, is cleaning the body, detoxing the body, rebuilding the good bacteria in the body, and flooding the body with nutrition. Which, like, I'm drinking 2 of these green juices a day, every day, and I'm never going to stop. I've been doing this for 9.5 years. So you said, what do people do when they go plant-based? Well, you have to supplement today, whether you're plant-based or eating meat, because the soil's been farmed out. That 85% of the nutrition is gone. That's why, I got candle wax all over this one, but it's running down here. But this formula actually replaces 85% of what's missing. And it's very concentrated juice extracts and different vegetables and sea vegetables full of minerals. So what that's able to do is make it convenient for people, because all I did was I filled this up with some water and I put a scoop in there and shook it up and I drink it. And it takes me 1 minute. Right. I'm done. And I can go about my day. And that's my insurance policy, to replace what's not in my food chain.
Yeah, and that's something that I learned a long time ago about the minerals and vitamins being farmed out of the soil because of so many crops, that have been grown in the same place. And there was a book released called Dead Doctors Don't Lie. And I remember reading that many years ago, and he was a doctor that had done more autopsies on zoo animals and human beings that died of natural causes than anybody else on the planet. And his conclusion was, and he made it, it's pretty fact-based, obviously, that all animals that die and humans that die of natural causes die because of mineral and vitamin deficiency, which is pretty incredible. And he said, the men that live in the foothills of the Himalayas, father children into their 80s because the soil is so rich in the minerals there. That's why there's Himalayan pink rock salt that's getting farmed now, getting mined out of that region of the world and sent over here because there's so many minerals in it, right? So that's something that once I saw Himalayan rock salt, I went, wow, this is pretty cool. Yeah. So that's the thing that I learned that a long time ago, and everybody should be using some sort of really high grade vitamin replacement, which the Greens 85 is.
Yeah, think about it. I mean, if you have 2 dogs and you feed one of them just terrible food, chemicalized food, it's bottom of the barrel, scraped up, chopped up stuff, and the other one it's raw, concentrated, really healthy. Right. Which dog's going to live longer and be healthier?
Right. Dogs that are eating the wrong kind of food, they get arthritis early, they get mange, they get all kinds of skin conditions and health issues and cancers and everything else. And
it's all about changing our environment, and what we eat's one part of that.
Right. So yeah, we eat those healthy diets, are certainly going to be a lot better off. And that's, and people think about it, parents will eat super healthy who are being conscious of it, but then feed their kids, breakfast cereals that have artificial colors and flavors and all kinds of garbage in it and stuff. And you think, why would you want to do that to your kid when you're taking care of yourself? Just because the kid likes sweets or whatever, just
a lot of reasons. Maybe you grew up like I did on cereal and just think that's okay. You don't actually know what's in the cereal. Plus, it's convenient.
I grew up on cold cereals, hot dogs, and bologna from Oscar Mayer. And then my mom would make a big pot of, meat and potatoes for dinner. So, at least I was getting some vegetables and stuff at night. But for the most part, man, my lunches during school and stuff would be, especially elementary, because the elementary school I went to was right behind my house. I walked home for lunch every day because it was right across the schoolyard. So I would go home when my mom was working, and I would boil 3 hot dogs, put them on bread, Wonder Bread, and throw some mustard on it and eat them. And then I'd go back to school after watching Bozo Circus during the lunch period. So,
Well, you just brought something up. So a few kids today. Okay. So this is important. Like when I go shopping, like if I was to buy cereal, there's only one cereal that I found that I will consume right now. And I'm talking about the whole store shelf. And it's Ezekiel sprouted grain. And it's a plain version. It's not the one with the raisins in it. Here's the deal with cereal. Most cereal is made of what they call whole wheat. And when a parent sees that, or a mom or dad sees that, thinking,
you've been told that's healthy.
that's good. No. Okay. Here's how it works. You have a hard red wheat kernel or a spring wheat kernel. Those are the two different types of wheat.
Right.
And it's hard. If you were to take a handful of that, Pat, and I gave it to you or a kid, and you chewed it, what's going to happen? Wheat in its dormant state. You're going to crack a tooth. And if you swallow it, you're going to get no nutrition out of it. It's going to come out in your stool, and it's not going to digest at all. Okay. But so here's the deal. You take a food in that state, in that form, that's indigestible, and then it's ground into a powder, and then it's they add water and sugar and salt and yeast, and then they cook it at high temperatures. Now, through that processing, what else happens? Well, you're losing nutrition. Okay.
Kills all the natural enzymes by
You're
cooking.
killing it. Plus, those wheats have been hybrid, so that's like a lot of it's genetically modified, even if
And
it's not.
sprayed with Monsanto products.
Sprayed with chemicals, hybrid in most cases, potentially genetically modified, all these problems. But let's say you didn't even have all that. You still have a grain that's in indigestible form. It's ground into a powder, and then they cook it at high temperatures, and then you eat it. And why do they do? Oh, and before they do that, they enrich it too. If it says enriched, that means that it goes on a conveyor belt, and they spray chemicals. There's little sprayers, and they go, psst, and the cereal goes underneath it, and they enrich it with a synthetic vitamin that's toxic to the body. Okay, that's cereal today. Then you put sugar on it, and they put honey on it, and they add raisins and all other crap. And when you mix sugars with grains, what do you get? Alcohol. Okay, that's how you make alcohol. That's how we made wine. We get 10 pounds of, whatever. You could take cherries, 10 pounds of sugar, and 10 gallons of water. Mix it up, throw a little yeast in there, and then put a tube into a thing, and you got wine in a few days. That's what happens in your gut. You put in sugar and you put in grains, and then you create alcohol, which is more sugar, and it's acid. So this is what's happening to these kids today, and it's like when you consume cereal like that, in that form, it converts into sugar. That's what's going on with it. So you're giving your kids a bowl of sugar. That's basically what it is, with a bunch of chemicals in it.
Which the body converts to fat.
Yeah, and it feeds all disease. And kids today are having major problems. They're having gut issues. They're having colitis, Crohn's, diverticulitis, irritable bowel syndrome. I mean, they're having problems. Kids are sicker than adults today, and it's getting bad. So cereal's not a good thing when it's in that form. Now, if you were to take that same wheat grain, if it wasn't hybrid and wasn't sprayed and all that stuff, and you soaked it in water for 6 to 8 hours, it would release its natural insecticide or protectant. It would become, on average, 8 times more digestible. And then what indigenous people would do is they take those grains and seeds that are sprouted. That's all sprouted means, is soaked in water once. That's sprouted. And they would mortar and pestle them in with herbs and seeds and stuff like that. And then we'd put them into patties, and they'd set them out in the sun and let them dry. And they would eat them for subsistence.
Okay.
That's going to give you energy, and that is another great way to get your B vitamins. Sprouted grains. That's another great way to get B vitamins.
That's really interesting. And I talked to, I was lucky enough to meet a gentleman who's one of the owners of Gencana, which is a hemp company based down in Kentucky.
Mm-hmm.
And he informed me, educated me because he goes to China quite a bit. They have a facility over there. And he said, there are, a couple 100 million people in China that are pre-diabetic and diabetic. And I said, really? And he said that never existed until they started buying American wheat.
Mm-hmm.
And they're ingesting American wheat, and now they've got an explosion of diabetes over there. And, this is one of those big lies by the FDA and the big food corporations and stuff that when they made the food pyramid and talking about whole wheat products and stuff being part of that food pyramid, man, that's a death sentence for a lot of people.
Yeah. Staff of Life, it was 36% protein content. Now it's as low as 6 to 8%. And it's just not what it used to be,
Right.
It's just not what it used to be.
A lot of people that go on vacation to Europe say they can eat the European grains and not run into the same problems as they do here in America. And
I hear that all the time with my coaching clients.
Right. And we know that genetically modified grains in most European countries anyway are not even permitted, are they?
Yeah, it's outlawed.
Which is
I think there's like 64 countries that outlawed GMOs, something like that. It's a big number.
And that's a great thing. So we need to keep educating people on that, to start paying attention. And look, if people quit buying it, the food companies are going to change. That's the only way they're going to change, is if they're not selling it anymore. Just take it off the market. So people really need to be educated about that. So anyway, I didn't want to keep you too long tonight, but people can go to your website, chemicalfreebody.com, and go shopping. And if they use our code with the /farmer.
Yeah, it's chemicalfreebody.com/farmer. And then you guys have a discount code. Just type in farmer and they get I think 5% off their first order.
Yeah, so people can go to that website, chemicalfreebody.com /farmer and get those discounts or whatever. Punch in the promo code farmer and get your discounts for, I've had so many products in my life during my fight career, different supplement companies, and 3 companies have actually worked out of, 100 that I've tried over the years. And you're one of the 3 out of probably well over 100 of products that actually do something that I can feel. So, this is the final step for me, for the Hard to Kill Holiday Challenge. I'm going to be the guinea pig, buddy. You're going to have to take me through this step by step, hold my hand, and I'm going to.
No problem. I'll have to come back and do a recap on your success.
Yeah, I'm going to do the plant-based diet for 90 days, and we're going to go through this. We're going to be posting
on day 91. We're going to have you have a big 64-ounce steak and some Haagen-Dazs, and then we'll do the show the next morning. See how you feel.
I don't think I'm taking a 64-ounce steak. I think probably a fillet or something like that. And look, I'm not against meat eaters or anything like that. I love steak. If there was a bone-in ribeye sitting in front of me, extremely blue rare, look, I'm going to be really tempted to eat it because I do love the taste of meat. That's just the way it is. But I'm going to do this, and you're going to help hold me to it. And I'm going to be posting workouts on Twitter every day, the workouts that I'm doing, at least the days that I'm doing my workouts, and we'll go from there, man, and see how everything improves.
Wow, this is good. Are you going to go get a blood test?
I think I am. I can tell you right now that my blood pressure is not high, but it's higher than it's ever been. I have not had a cholesterol test or anything like that of late, but I'd like to get into my buddy Sean over at ACI Medicine here in Davenport. He's a guy that will do an extensive blood test on people and then tell them exactly what's wrong with them by their blood test, and then tell them what they need to do to change their lives. And he was the guy that told me I'd be dead in 3 years probably from eating gluten because there was so much inflammation in my body. I had arthritis and asthma and all this other stuff because I was eating those grains so much. And that really, I quit eating that stuff alone, and I went from running 3 miles to my longest run of 75 miles 10 months later just from not eating gluten. So that says a lot. It really does.
Yeah.
So my body's been through a little bit. I'm a little beat up. So running 75 miles for the guy that's been through 4,000 car wrecks, the equivalent of 4,000 car wrecks, not really easy. Not the easiest thing to do, trust me. So before we go, talk about, because most people equate plant-based diets or vegans, people like to say, with people who, are totally against anyone who eats meat, people that, stand in the way of cattle trucks coming into processing plants and stuff like that. And that's not the case. That's not the case for most of the people that I know that have plant-based diets. They just, look, it's live and let live type mentality. But so talk about your hunting experience with your son that you just got back from not that long ago.
Yeah, sure, Pat. Yeah, it's the first thing is thank God we're in a free country and we have freedom of choice. And I was a hardcore meat eater until we went to that institute and did all that stuff, and the results spoke for themselves. So I kind of became pretty fanatical about it, and I drove away some people in my life because I was like, what I learned was is like when you make changes in your life and you notice some improvements, a lot of times you're trying to push your shit onto other people to make yourself feel good.
Right.
Right? Just like they're trying to push their ideas on you, like where do you get your protein from to make themselves feel good, to make themselves feel comfortable. The only way you're going to do this is to lead. You want people to change. You can't tell people to do anything. They're going to do whatever they want. The only way you're going to change people is to change yourself first and allow them to see your results. And some will come along quickly, some will come along later, and some will never change.
Right.
That's okay. It's not your job to change anybody. Your job is to work on yourself. That's it.
Yeah.
So I had been plant-based. I mean, the first 2.5 years, almost living foods, 100%. Like not even hardly eating cucumbers. I'm eating like sprouts. Everything's sprouted. Healed myself up, and I went back and I started doing some of the vegan junk foods and all this stuff, trying some stuff out. I gained about 10, 15 pounds back, and then I kind of leveled off. And through my journey, through this whole health thing, I've realized that there are some people that are just not able to completely get off of meat now, emotionally, maybe even spiritually. Okay. So it might not be the time for them. So what I teach people now is to just add in more plants into their life. That's it. Just keep adding and more in, adding more. Don't even worry about quitting eating meat unless you want to do a challenge or something like you're doing, but just because you're ready for that now. But just add in more plants, add in more plants, keep adding in more, and kind of let them tell the whole story in your body and let you feel it for yourself. So I stopped hunting in 2013, and I think it was, well, my son was, I took him hunting before that, and he was 10, and I took him deer hunting. And back then, you could allow, if they were 10 or older, the kid could use your tag. And he shot a buck using my tag, and that was all great. He was little, he didn't remember much. And then I stopped hunting, so we never went hunting because I just wasn't hunting anymore. And then finally, I asked him what he wanted to do, and he's like, I want to go hunting, and I want to go, I want to get my own meat and catch fish, and I want to cook it up. And I was like, really? And he had a hard time sharing that with me because he thought I was going to come down on him because I was plant-based. Right. I was like, well, who are you going to go with? He's like, I'm going to go with this kid from school. And I'm like, well, has he carried a gun before or hunted? Well, no. And I'm like, well, that ain't happening. Right. So I said, I'm back. I'll guide you. I'll take you. So for me, it was a chance for me to really reconnect with my son and bond with him. And I went out and we had a great time, and he ended up getting a buck. And this time I wasn't like crying like I did the last deer I shot. I felt almost terrible because I killed it. And it was a really, and we sat down, and as soon as he killed the animal, we kneeled down, and we were just like meditation or something. We were just taking time to be very grateful for that animal to sacrifice its life for us and give us this experience. And now it's going to nourish our bodies. So with that type of an attitude, I think it's a better thing. And I had a couple pieces of that, the deer backstrap, and it's no big deal. You know what I mean? It's like, because if you're trying to push your stuff onto other people, they're just going to hunker down and they're not going to change at all.
Yeah, you're just going to scare them away. You're going to scare them away from what you're doing. And yeah, that's the thing. It's like, that's what I'm just doing is look, man, I'm just trying this to see what happens to my body. I'm a person with an open mind, and that's the key. I have an open mind, as far as politics. I have an open mind about a lot of things, and that's, you just got to eventually just bring your own walls down, your own defenses down, and say, you know what, I've got to try it because I don't feel good.
Yeah,
my body does not feel good, and that's something that I really need to do, to experiment with for myself, and hopefully people understand that. And if they don't,
and another thing you can do too is, like, if you've never been plant-based before, how can you possibly pass judgment on it? You don't even know. You have no clue how your body feels and how you feel on it. So rather than passing judgment on anybody, because it doesn't do any good, just try it out for yourself, And again, just add in more plants to your diet. What I tell people in the beginning when I'm coaching them is, don't change your diet at all. You don't even have your foundation in place first. We're trying to get people just to drink enough water, chew their food until liquefied, avoid liquids with meals. That's a game changer right there. And then do a little.
You got to tell them why to avoid it. liquids with food?
Well, number one, it's all about absorption, right? We're trying to get why do we eat? We're trying to get nutrition into the cell. So first off, you got to hydrate your cells, number one, by drinking a lot of water. So when the nutrients get there, they can actually get into the cell because most people's cells are dehydrated. Number two, you chew your food really well to help liquefy the food and makes the digestive process easier. Your teeth are the first step in digestion. They're the masticators. But you have 2 ducts up here and 4 down here in the bottom jaw, and they secrete enzymes, amylase to break down your starchy carbohydrates and lipase to break down your fats. So you load your food with these food digesting enzymes. They go down into your belly, and those enzymes then break down the food. Most of digestion starts in the mouth. So if you've done the first 2 things right, and you've drank a lot of water so the cells are ready to receive the nutrition, number 2, you chewed your food well and load it with those enzymes, and then you go ahead and drink water, beer, wine, alcohol with the food, you're going to now dilute those digestive enzymes and go away from digestion, and you're going to go right to fermentation, which is gut rot. And over time, that gut rot is going to destroy those little intestinal villi, they're called. They're like these little hair-like structures that are lining your intestinal tract that push your food through you and also pull the nutrients into the intestinal, through the intestinal lining into the bloodstream. So it's very important to not eat or drink water or liquids during meals. The only time you would do that is if you're eating dehydrated foods, because all the water content's being removed, and you would have a little bit of water with that.
Okay.
So but if people get that down without even changing their diet, we're seeing massive turnarounds in people's health with just those 4 things, and those don't cost anything.
That's awesome. Well, man, it's been very educational, and we wanted to launch the Hard to Kill Holiday Challenge with you, obviously, because you have helped us a lot in our journey and knowledge of what we should be putting in our bodies. And again, we're not against people who eat meat. I'm a meat eater. That's the way it is. But I'm going to go 90 days without it, and I'm going to see what happens. And we'll keep people posted through Twitter and through more broadcasts of Everything Combat. And so this is our first installment, getting everybody ready for the holidays, man. Let's do some positive work.
Cool.
And let's get
and I tell you what, we have a new, I don't have the MMA version, but I have that new gut detox guide. It's a $67 value. If anybody wants a free copy of that from courtesy of Pat and Jeffrey, I'll send that to you. Just send me an email to info@chemicalfreebody.com. That's info@chemicalfreebody.com, and I'll get you a free copy of that $67 gut detox guide. It walks through the steps that we covered some of them here today.
That's awesome. And so how can people follow you on? Yeah, I've got one. How do people follow you on social media and track you down?
Chemicalfreebody.com on Facebook. Also my personal Facebook page, Tim James. I'm a lot more active on that. I do have an Instagram account at Chemical Free Body Guy.
Chemical Free Body Guy on the Instagram. Good. All right. Well, Tim, again, thank you very much for joining me. And Jeffrey will be back in the next installment, and we will be hosting another guest to educate us on what they've done to change their lives and become successful at whatever it is they set out to do, and just live a positive life, a life worth telling people about.
That's right.
All right, brother. Well, thank you again. And you have a great night.
Thanks, Pat. Talk to you soon.